The trademark infringement case between Nike and Omi and a Hellcat has officially come to a conclusion with a default judgment. The judgment was against Omi and carried an order for him to pay Nike $8 million. From the start of the case back in November 2022, Omi was always very outspoken and not afraid to speak candidly about the lawsuit and how he felt about it. This is a clip of Omi from the beginning of the case.
So Nike's suing you?
Yep, I think we made enough significant changes to not get sued. I don't know, it's still my favorite company in the world. I ain't gonna lie. No matter what happens, I'm still rock Nikes. It's my favorite company, bro.
I have to wonder if he still feels the same way, but before we talk about the judgment, we have to rewind and talk about how Omi found himself in this legal battle in the first place. If this is your first time ever hearing about Omi and a Hellcat, he's the man behind Reloaded Merch LLC, which is the company he used to make, promote, and sell his bootlegs. Bootlegs, love it or hate it, have become incredibly popular in the sneaker space, mainly to the likes of Omi, John Geiger, Warren Lotus, and Kool Kai. Kool Kai will come up again in just a moment because he ties into this story too. Bootlegs are not new by any means, but those big names and a few others have contributed to this new wave of bootlegs, and they've inspired a lot of smaller brands to start getting into bootlegging as well. This has led to Nike having to defend their trademarks left and right. This lawsuit with Nike is not the first time Omi has found himself in trouble. In 2019, Omi went down for fraud after not paying his taxes from 2016 to 2019. The IRS does not play when it comes to their money, so of course they tagged in their big homie, the FBI, and the two of them opened a case on Omi. The FBI was able to prove that Omi was running an illegal video streaming service, which sounds more complicated than it is. He was jailbreaking Fire Sticks. But the IRS and the FBI don't just double team anybody, so how did Omi end up on the IRS's radar? Well, like I mentioned, he did fail to pay his taxes, and of course that got the IRS's panties in a bunch, but at this time, Omi had also created a YouTube channel where Omi loved to flex. Lil Wayne said real G's move in silence like lasagna. Omi doesn't know what silence is. Homes, cars, cash, all of it was on full display on his Omi and a Hellcat YouTube channel that had over 500,000 subscribers, as well as all his other social media platforms, and of course, the feds are always watching. Omi was sentenced to 5.5 years in order to pay back $30 million. Most people don't do their max time when it comes to these types of crimes, but the FBI did do their damnedest to try and get back that $30 million in the forms of cash, bank accounts, homes, a lot of cars, and anything else that they could auction out of Omi's assets to try and get as close to that $30 million as they could. Now, why am I bringing up Omi and a Hellcat's piracy case at all in this situation? That's because I do feel like it ties into this legal battle with Nike, but I will bring all of that together in just a moment. Right now, we have to get back to the sneakers. When Omi first started selling his bootlegs, he believed that his panels were different enough from Nike's Air Jordan 1s and their Dunks that he could sell them without a problem. Now the differences are minor, but Omi actually changed his first panels to be more similar to another bootlegger, Kool Kai. His reasoning behind that was simple pettiness.
Now you said that you switched the panels
Yeah,
to where as though you can't get sued,
100%.
and you told another guy the same thing, and he didn't do it.
Yeah, and the crazy part about it is that I had changed my panels from the very beginning. Then for me trying to be a smart ass, I changed them to the same panels that the other guy had. Just to be an asshole. And kind of sucks, but yeah, we're going back.
Omi has said himself that the change in panels was sparked by him wanting to be an asshole, and looking back on it, it probably wasn't the best idea because the new panels on his bootlegs looked even closer to Nike's authentic product, which would lead Nike lumping Omi and Kool Kai together when they decided to sue in 2022. This says a lot to me about Omi's approach into this sneaker space. I don't believe that any of this was ever about his love of sneakers or elevating materials or giving the people what they want if Nike wouldn't give it to them. This was about making money. Omi entered the market with a bootleg that looked almost identical to Kool Kai's bootleg, and he lowered his prices so that he would be the go-to guy. Now, if you grew up in the hood good or if you have a hustling bone in your body, that tactic or strategy probably sounds familiar, and it has nothing to do with Omi's love of sneakers. Then to take it a step further, at the first sign of smoke or conflict, Omi doubles down and makes his product even closer to Kool Kai's. So now we have Nike suing Kool Kai and Omi and a Hellcat for trademark infringement. Both bootleggers were all over social media expressing their displeasure with the situation. Kool Kai did not like being lumped in with Omi, and Omi wouldn't shut up about how he really wasn't all that worried about the case.
Nah, not yet. We still got to come to the, bro, we're so far away. This case can take 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years. And like right now, they threw me into the case of like every other person selling bootlegs. I'm like, ho. We're totally different companies, yo. You got to get us. So that's going to take a while of us getting up out of everybody else's suit because they sued a couple of us together. I ain't got nothing to do with them.
Omi had a very bounce back kind of attitude, saying things on social media like when life gets you down, you come back 10 times stronger. And it is important to remember he is still dealing with the fallout of that piracy case at the same time. I will say this, out of all of the bootleggers, Omi does seem to have always been very well liked as a social media personality. People really seem to like his rags to riches story. He grew up poor, cooking crack with his dad. He lost his mom to drugs. A lot of people did want to see him win. His positivity translates during all these interviews he's doing about the case and his optimism about the outcome.
They were suing somebody for Air Force One, and I literally can hold it up to the Air Force One, and I'm like, what did the fuck they really change? And they came to an amazing resolution. The guy can still sell the shoe. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, whatever he did, I want that.
You're probably wondering, where does that optimism come from? This should be cut and dry. Nike has a strong case. Well, if you remember, I said Nike has been suing a lot of companies for infringement. Companies who have made bootleg Air Force Ones, bootleg Nike Dunks, and bootleg Air Jordan 1s. But for some, the outcomes have been better than others. For example, John Geiger has a silhouette very similar to the Air Force One and was sued by Nike. After the outcome of his case, he's still able to sell this silhouette. Then of course there's Kool Kai, who, remember, Omi changed the panels on his shoe to look more like Kai's just to get under Kai's skin. The outcome of Kai's case was a confidential settlement, but just like John Geiger, Kai is still able to sell this silhouette. So if things went right for Kai, why did Omi lose his case? Interestingly enough, Omi did not lose the case because he was unable to defend his bootleg. In fact, he never really got a chance to try because for whatever reason, he did not pay an outstanding balance owed to his lawyers, which resulted in his lawyers withdrawing from the case. And that is why Nike was able to get a judgment against Omi and why he has to pay the brand $8 million. He's also banned from selling these products in the future. The decision on Omi's part not to pay his balance was baffling at first, but then I really sat with it for a while, and I think I know why he did what he did. I mentioned earlier how I think Omi's entrance into this sneaker space was never about a love for sneakers, but about his love for money. He wanted to run up a bag, and he did just that. And to be clear, I'm not condemning him or his actions. He's a scammer in the truest sense of the word, not with the negative connotation attached. The piracy video streaming service was a scam. This Reloaded Merch LLC selling Nike bootlegs was also just a scam, and scams come to an end. Eventually, those loopholes get patched up and you move on. I don't think this is the last we'll see of Omi and a Hellcat. I think we'll see him again in some way, shape, or form. And that's because there is ingenuity in Omi. And don't take my words out of context. I'm not saying that he's a designer. I'm not saying that he's a creative person in any way. What I'm saying is there is skill in getting people to like him and getting people to work with him. And there is cleverness to having kept these scams going for as long as he did. He's a hustler. Whether you're using the government or any other type of infrastructure, it's hard to keep those people down because, again, they will always find a loophole or another scam. I know some sneakerheads out there want to see Omi crash and burn because from their perspective, in their eyes, they see him doing a disservice or an injustice to the sneaker community. To those people, I have a question. If you keep in mind the fact that I said Omi probably does not care about sneakers and this was always about money rather than leaving any kind of impact on the sneaker space, does someone like Omi do more damage to the sneaker community than someone like Zeta Kick? These Zeta Kicks who ran a Ponzi scheme and intentionally hurt the sneaker community. People never got their shoes. Others lost thousands and thousands of dollars. He was scamming the community directly. Omi is someone who got a bag off the back of Nike, and whether you agree with buying and selling bootlegs or not, Omi's customers are happy. I know this content probably feels a little different coming from me, but I do want to get back into talking about sneaker current events and situations surrounding sneakers that I have an opinion on. I made this channel so that I can voice my perspective in this sneaker community, because I feel like sneaker YouTube can be very one-dimensional, and I want to spice that up and add my perspective because I think every perspective is valuable. I'm looking forward to hearing y'all thoughts about this Omi and a Hellcat versus Nike situation, and as always, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, show a small YouTuber some love, and I will check y'all out in the next one.